Hi guys, this is Victor and today I'm going to show you how to make these super cute micro cupcakes. As you can see, this one here I have made with rainbow loom bands, this one I have made just with cheap silicone bands. Your band choice does make a difference as with most things, but like most cupcakes they are not all exactly the same. So very quick and easy design. You just need 3 colours, so one for your base and one for your frosting. I'm going to use the Rainbow Loom yellow for my base, and I'm going to use the Rainbow Loom jelly purple for my frosting. Sorry about my odd lighting today. Then you will just need one. I'm going to use it for my cherry, but you could decide to make it, whatever you like on the top. You could put a little bow on the top if you really want to. And your loom in a staggered configuration. And your hook. So I didn't do a band count again, I'm sorry, but my approximate is around 35 of each colour. Any colours you like, and we're going to start by laying down anywhere on your loom. Starting with your base colour, we are going to do a starburst, double banded, so 2 bands from the centre out, 2 bands, 2 bands, pushing your bands down in the centre, 2 bands, and lucky last 2 bands. In the middle, we're going to take a single band. I like to double it in my fingers and then double it again on that peg, the centre peg. So twisting and then placing it back on that peg. It is very tricky, but I like to go around the peg 4 times for these tiny designs. So now we are going to take our hook and loom under that cap band and just grab the first 2 bands on that stack, which for me, the last bands in my starburst were going up. Bring them back onto themselves. Then go for your next 2. Out to the side for me. The next 2. And all the way around till you have completed that starburst. That is your bottom row. I want you to push all those bands down. Now we are going to put another row around the perimeter in our base colour. Double bands. So just drop 2 bands on any peg, and then from that peg we're going to put 2 bands to the one next to it. And then again from that peg, the next one. 2 bands all the way around till we reach the last one before we dropped the 2. So 2 bands, flinging my loom around to there, grab those 2 that you dropped and place them up over that last peg. So now I want you to loom all of your bottom rows, so all of those starburst bands. There's 4. You can do 2 at a time if it's easier. Doesn't matter where you start. So straight up and over. So that whole bottom row, 4 bands up and over, all the way around. Like I said, you can do it 2 at a time if it's easier. Makes the pattern look a little bit neater. But don't get confused which 2 bands, or which 4 bands should I say, that you need to flip over. All the ones from that starburst into the centre. So push them all down. Now we are going to do the same thing again, but instead of doing double bands we're going to do single bands. So dropping a single band and then placing single bands all the way around the perimeter till you get to that last peg before, and grabbing that dropped band and popping that up over the peg. So now flip your whole bottom row, 4 bands again, up and over, all the way around, not losing any of your bands on the top row. Four bands up and over the 2. Where am I? There we go. And last one. Done. Pushing your bands down. This is what you should have. Starting to bunch up a bit there in the middle, but that is your base. Now we are going on to the topping. So we're going to grab double bands of your topping. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to drop 2 and then lay 2 all the way around that perimeter. I'm using jelly bands for this one because I want it to look a little bit more glazed than my other ones. Like juicy topping. So double bands all the way around till you get to that last peg. Grab those 2 that you dropped and place them up over the top. And now looming that whole bottom row of just the 2 yellow up and over, all the way around. And pushing your bands down. So now we're just going to lay single band, so drop 1 single of your topping, 1 row all the way around of just a single band of your topping colour. And the same when you get to that last peg. Pick up that dropped band and flipping all 4 of those bands on the bottom row up and over, making sure none of your bands come off. Help if I have my hook around the right way. And lucky last. Okay, so pushing all your bands down, going for your topping colour, 2 single bands in your hand, grabbing 2 bands off one of the pegs onto your hook, feed those 2 single bands through that band and reclaim it back onto your hook. So then move on to the next peg, grab that band off onto your hook, grabbing 2 single bands of your topping colour and pulling them through all of the bands on your hook, reclaiming, going on to the next peg, grabbing the band, 2 single bands, pulling them through everything on your hook, reclaiming, onto the next, grabbing that band, 2 single bands when they're not all twisted, pulling it through, reclaiming, next bands off the peg, 2 single bands on your hook, pulling through all those bands and reclaiming, and then lucky last off the peg. This is what it should look like. Slip those bands up a little bit so that you can turn it over, turn it inside out and give it a bit of a stretch as you're doing so. Don't lose those bands off your hook. Now we want to go for, here you can see the hole, that's where we're up to with those bands. Look for your first loop. So you want to grab 2 bands or 4 bands. It's up to you. Doesn't have to be 4. I'll just go 2. And then grab 2 singular bands. So you should have 2 bands, 2 bands, 4 bands. Nice big bunch of bands on your hook. Grab 2 bands, pull them through and reclaim. So there is your basic shape for your cupcake. Now I want you to grab that single band you had for your cherry, wrap it around your hook 4 times. So we've got it wrapped. So we've got our cherry there. Grab those topping bands and just move them over the top so that the cherry is up on the top of your hook and those bands are down the bottom. And I want you to hold those in your hook and feed the cherry onto them. A little bit tricky, but once you get stable you can do it. So those are now on there, and then we're going to grab one more band, just a singular topping band. We're going to feed that through those last bands and slip knot it. Okay, so we've got that cherry there, we've got the top of that there, like so. It's not very good to see with it on camera. Stretch it out a bit, give it a play, give it a squeeze. You can pop your finger inside and just flip any bands that you need to flip around. But now, squash it down. We're going to go in through the bottom. We're going to come out the top, just through some of those purple bands on the opposite side, just a couple. And we're going to grab that singular band and we're going to thread it through to the bottom. Grab it with your finger and pull on it so that you don't snap it. And there is our super cute little micro cupcake. Squish him around a little bit. But there you have it. Super cute little cupcake without a patty pan. Just as if it's come out of the baking tin and you've chucked some icing on the top there. Stay tuned for my next tutorial. I will do this micro cupcake again, but I will be adding the patty pan. So there you go, plain or in its patty pan. You can choose any colours you like. I'd love to see them shared to me on Instagram and Facebook. Please give me a thumbs up if you liked this quick tutorial, and like, subscribe, and loom on. Bye!